the Madman. Before we even start with your story or whatever, I want to know how you got that nickname. Was it something you came up with yourself, or was it gifted to you?
It was gifted to me.
Okay.
And it's a pretty cool story, I think, in my opinion. So my ex-wife, right, when we got together, when we got married, she knew I was into fighting, and so she wanted to do something like, kind of special for our reception, and she called me the Stingray, right? And
Ex-wife.
yeah, and and so when we got to the reception and walked into the reception, the DJ called us out like fighters, and they come, Matt the Stingray Tinker. So I was like, God, but I was grateful that she took the time because she hated fighting, hated it, and so I was training with Mark McQueen. I started training with Mark McQueen shortly there afterwards at the Danger Room. And one day he asked me, do you have a nickname? And I was like, yeah, my wife, she calls me the Stingray. And he goes, nah, you're the Madman. And I was like, down.
Fuck yeah.
Like, let's go.
So much better.
So it stuck. And that's what I go by, and I answer to it just like my normal name. It's been, 14 years probably since he called me that.
How long have you been spending training and developing yourself in martial arts, Matt?
So about
How old were you when you
15 or
started?
16 years. So I was young. I was 14 years old when I started Taekwondo. And I was a hockey, team sports family. And about 14, I finally said, I would like to do Taekwondo or something like that as well. There was a school right down the street from my house, and my grandma signed me up. But hockey got in the way so much that I got a couple of belts in and quit. And then I picked it up back in my 20s again. And, Bruce Lee, the Karate Kid, I came up watching those things, and they really had me, like, I was thinking about it all the time, but I was so embedded in hockey that I just, played that.
Was hockey your main driver because it was also possibly a way to get into college? Like playing in high school and possibly getting a scholarship?
A little bit, like later on in high school, it became partly that. It just what I did. I didn't really know any better or think any differently of it. I was upper mediocre player. I wasn't like the greatest, but I didn't suck. Mm-hmm. And after high school, I got really, really heavily into drinking and drugs, and I got a little kickboxing in, and the drugs and the alcohol won out. So I took a 15 or 17-year break to get high, and ruin my life for a long time. And when I got sober, went to prison and got sober when I got out, and went right back into training. At the time, I bought a heavy bag, I bought some books, I did what I remembered, I just practiced. And then this guy came up to me at the gym I was working out at, excuse me, and he was a karate guy, Bushido karate guy, and he was like, I'm starting this karate class in the back, love to have you, come check it out. And so I was like, cool, and I did, and my first class with him, it was all women. It was all women wearing gym clothes and white belts.
What's wrong with that?
Yeah. And I did the class, and he was teaching, old school karate self-defense at it, and I stuck around. I was like, what, at the very least I'm, learning something from somebody, because at this point I have had, in my life, I've had 3 back surgeries, and I broke my neck when I was 20 as well. So I have a neck surgery. A fusion in my neck, I have a fusion in my back, and it's all solid, and so I really didn't think I would ever compete, but went to my doctor as I got going. I kept going to him, and all the ladies disappeared. It was just me and him for a really long time. Then I would bring my son Trevor in, and then we would have some guys come in and float around. I would pull some people that I knew trained from the gym and spar with them, and I went to my doctor, and I was like, look, I'm doing martial arts, I'm kind of getting really into it. Do you think my back and my neck will, survive? He's like, yeah, they're healed, they're fine, should be fine. Probably do you some good. So I took that bit of information.
It's actually kind of shocking that they'd be okay with that, considering the high contact sport that fighting is. You know what I mean?
What the doctor said was light sparring.
Oh yeah. Doctor's never been in a gym ever.
And so I said, cool.
Light sparring is like us saying like just the tip.
Yeah,
just the tip.
That's exactly.
I promise.
So he said light sparring. I thought just the tip. I rammed it all the way in, dude, and went full steam ahead from that point on. And I spent a lot of time strengthening up those areas of my body that I thought might be weak, as well. I got really into fitness, became a personal trainer on the side and things like that. But I started also, like, I wasn't getting enough sparring, and I wanted to fight. And so
at the Danger Room, when you say you weren't getting enough sparring, or at the original? At the karate?
Original, yeah. At St. Louis, back then it was St. Louis Fitness Club. It's
Sorry.
on Hampton. No, and so this was before the Danger Room. So actually, I found someone told me about Southside Fight Club.
Okay.
Mike Green, and I ended up there. And that's
shout out
where
Mike Green.
Yeah, and I'm a good dude, man. I love that guy. And ended up there, met Mark McLean, I met Kenneth Kinder and all the guys, and Devin Guerrero, and I was there for 3 months, and that's about the time he closed it down. And I was like, I had made some friends, and I was kind of like, what do I do now? Because it was the only place I knew that I could train on my lunch break, because I worked for my dad at the time. And so I hit the guys up, and I was like, where's everybody going? And they're like, Danger Room workouts, man. And I was like, cool, well, give me the address, I'll be there. And so that's what kind of took off after that. I stayed with Mark McLean for a couple of fights. Until he kind of started to slow down a little bit and take a break. I went from, did a couple of kickboxing fights with him. I won one, I lost one. My wife at the time hated it, convinced me to take a competition step back. And so I just got into grappling. So I just.
Why did she, out of curiosity, forgive me, why did she hate it? Because of the head trauma?
She was afraid of it. That was her only real excuse.
She was just worried about you getting hurt.
Worried about me getting hurt, and spending time away from home training, which I just, I killed that argument by training during the day when I wasn't home anyways,
Yeah.
Just wanted to take a second to pause the action and just tell you guys, thank you so much for consuming our content. Easy Talk is a passion project. This podcast is just a bunch of like-minded people coming together to produce some cool stuff and talk to some cool people. One of the things I would very much appreciate is if you could possibly like the video or subscribe to the channel, just because it helps us in the algorithm and ultimately to grow, to get more exposure to everybody, including ourselves, and ultimately just make a better product. Take a second, I'd greatly appreciate it, and on with the show.
Women. But anyways,
can't live with them. Can't live without them.
Yeah,
I love you, wife. I love you.
My wife too. My current wife is amazing and supportive, and but
no, it's definitely a sacrifice. I think that anybody, and this could easily be like a man who's in a relationship with a female fighter. Fighting at its core is a very selfish endeavor. You have to commit to it because of that underlying stress of possibly getting hurt. Yeah. So like you can play basketball, you can play soccer and all these other stuff, but you don't play boxing, you don't play kickboxing, you don't play MMA. Yeah. If I go in there unprepared, if I didn't train properly, if I don't cut weight properly, if I don't recover properly, I'm going to get fucked up. And I'm going to get fucked up in front of everybody, like all my friends and family that bought tickets. And fighters will understand what I mean by this is like when you win, it's like the wind is at your back, like it's kind of like full steam ahead, right? The second you lose, even one fight, then all that doubt starts creeping in. Then all the conversations are like, why do you do this? Are you sure this is what you want to do? Man, you really spent a lot of time just to lose. And you're like, yeah, thanks, guys. Thanks for making that one feel a little better.
Well, just my ex-wife, to her defense, I picked up the full heavy training mid-relationship, like just before we got married. And so I didn't come into the relationship as a fighter. My current wife, I did. When I...
Meaning she kind of like knew what she was getting into.
Knew what she was getting into. She competed a couple of times. She's competed sometimes. She's, getting back into it, training again, trying to, and I think wants to very much be a part of that world. And she's worried about the head trauma. I'm not 30 years old anymore, for sure. But I don't have the history that some of the younger guys do, so like if you started fighting when you were 10 and you're still fighting when you're 30, there's probably
you meaning like more. The miles?
Yeah,
when
I
you
don't
say
have
history,
the miles
you
on
mean
the body.
like
Yeah, so I started later on in life. I was I guess 35 when I picked it up again, when I had my first fight.
At 35?
At 35, yeah.
God
I'm
bless.
49 now.
God bless.
Yeah.
Matt, really?
Yeah.
I was gonna say black don't crack, but you're white. You're aging like wine, man. Good
Thank
job.
you, man.
I did
I
not
really
think you were
appreciate
49,
that.
dude.
I get
Holy
that a lot,
shit.
man. It means a lot to me, though.
Yeah, I thought you were like 40. I'm serious. I thought you were like 8 years older
Yeah,
than me.
49.
Which makes sense now because I'm like, man, his son is like pretty old. He must have had him when he was young.
Yeah.
I was like, his son's like almost like I think your son is what?
23.
Yeah, he just graduated, right?
No, yeah, he graduated. Yeah, he's got grad school this year.
Got you.
So one more year of
Sorry, he just got his
eligibility.
undergrad. Forgive me.
Yep.
Yeah, because I thought I was like, he's got to be like 22. That means I was trying to do like mental math. I was like, man, he must have had his kid when he was like 18. I was like,
Yeah.
Matt, my dog. Makes more sense now. No, it's interesting that you say that because they say that one of the first things to go is the chin, and one of the last things to go is the power. Would you say that that's an accurate assessment? Do you feel like you still have the ability to take the shots?
I would say I do. Yes.
Okay.
At 175, I don't. We found that out when I turned pro. I lost my first 2 pro fights. I was fighting at 175.
You think
I was
you were cutting too much?
about 190, 197, and I just think the weight drop didn't give me, didn't have any oomph behind my body, so I couldn't, use my power to kind of like make them step back enough. And so when I got clipped, and it kind of showed that like this is not a great weight class for me. I got knocked out in the first round twice in a row, and
Did that make you start getting some doubts?
I did. I got a story about that too. So I was about ready to hang it up.
You had just gone pro.
I had just
The
gone
start
pro.
was not what you had wanted.
Right.
And you were feeling some
And
doubts.
I was coming back from Moberly. I had fought in Moberly, my second fight, and lost in the first round again. And I had made a Facebook post. I was like, I don't know what's going to happen. I got some fighters to focus on right now, and I was seriously debating just hanging up the gloves and just coaching, and the kickboxing guys were smiling upon me. So we got back from Moberly, and I had to go to the grocery store, and I go to the same Chinooks all the time, and I walk in, and this time I turn the produce aisle, and who's standing right in front of me but Jason Salufo, the head coach from Watson's MMA, the head Muay Thai coach from Watson's MMA, and me and him had been friends for a long time. We worked out at the club that I trained at, St. Louis Fitness Club, so we talked a lot, and our guys would go down to his gym and train a little bit, spar and things like that, so we had a really good relationship, and he's like, hey, what's going on? How'd it go? And I was like, man, I lost, and I think I'm going to hang it up. And he's like, I know he had some problems, and he would still be fighting too, if he could, and not to air his stuff out, but, he said, he goes, man, if you still got the fire, and I was like, yeah, I definitely still got the fire. He's like, then why quit? And if you quit, then what are you teaching your guys? And I was just kind of like, oh. Yeah, that makes a whole lot of sense. He's like, are you physically able? I'm like, 100%. And he's like, then I don't see any reason to stop. So I went up a weight class and then won 3 in a row after that. And it's been an amazing ride to kind of get, to start at 0, and come up, 3-2 at my age is pretty cool.
I was going to ask you that, and I want to let you know that I'm not trying to say any of these. I'm genuinely curious, so forgive me if any of these come across as rude. But what is the goal with fighting for you? Like, obviously, there's the aspect of coaching, and we're going to kind of subset that. I'm just talking strictly competition.
Yeah.
Like, why at this time, at this age, are you still interested in competition? Just to see if you can push yourself, like to prove to yourself that you still have it? Like, to what end are we doing this?
100%. It's 100% to see what the body can do. On top of that, to gain the experience. I feel like for me, the best that I can offer my students, because after fighting's over, it's just strictly coaching and training. And I feel like for me to have the experience, even at my age, of competing at the highest level that I can compete at personally. I'm not going to glory. I'm not going to win any belts, and anything like that. But TBA does have like a 55-year-old
Oh,
bracket
really?
now.
Like a master's division?
Yeah. So we might see me doing that later on. But yeah, to pass on, the ultimate thing is to pass on my experience to others, and I want to actually have that experience, have been in those shoes, have been in the ring, have been under the lights, have been in the crowd, and actually have that experience that I can pass it on.
As a coach, how important is it to educate an individual within the realm of martial arts so they know how to defend themselves like through technique, right? So like they're coming into a striking class, you're teaching them the 1-2. This is how you plant your feet, this is how you turn your hips, whatever. That's one aspect of coaching.
Yeah.
But it sounds like a lot of what you're saying in terms of the acumen that you want to get as a fighter to then kind of use as a coach is also like the real world experience of competition to explain to them, hey, you're going to get the jitters and this is what it's like in the back and this is what the
100%.
rules meeting is going to be like. And so do you think like there's a part of you that is just trying to, it's not like an insecurity that you have within what it is that you know, but it's to try to keep up with your knowledge as recent as possible?
That's it. Yeah. 100%. I would say that's probably what we're talking about. Because the part of coaching, like you said, is just not just teaching technique. A lot of these kids and people that are coming in, you know, I mean, let's face it, we're not like, you know, Ivy League, you know, kids coming into our schools. I mean, some of them are coming from, you know, sketchy backgrounds or just, you know,
they're
whatever.
not golfers.
Like,
they're not polo players.
Right.
It's a certain demographic.
I'm a street kid, dude. I shot heroin for 15 years. You know what I'm saying? Like, I did weird shit. And so, like, I know all those paths and I can see it. So I can lead. So I feel like I have a great opportunity to lead someone from one direction into a whole nother direction. So it's all about the path. It's all about, I took this path as a fighter because this is what I did. And I didn't like who I was. And so now I do like who I was. And I want to show you all that I can show you and all that I remember from all of that path. And it leads everything from walking into the gym the first day all the way up into, you know, the fight, you know, and the day of the fight and being in the fight and the mental preparation and just everything, you know, because I've tried it all and I get really bad nerves when I fight, you know, like really, really bad.
They never went away from me. Never went away from me.
You know, that's the reason why I started fighting, because I had plenty of street fights, but I always hated the way I felt before. But I was drunk a lot of times, you know, so, but I know there were some times, but I wasn't quite drunk enough that I like, what's this nervous feeling inside me? So when I got sober, I was like, well, if I don't want that feeling, I should probably learn how to fight the right way, and it'll go away. And it never went away. Like,
it amplifies.
Yeah, I was gonna
because
say
you're like, oh, this
bigger.
guy's cold. This guy in front of me is like about to try to fuck me
Yeah.
up. I think it's good because I spent so much of my career trying to dilute that feeling.
Yeah.
And I came to the conclusion after I retired that like that feeling was exactly what I needed to feel.
Yeah.
Because it put me on edge.
Yeah.
That feeling of like, I feel like I have to shit my pants, but if I go to the bathroom, nothing's going to come out. I feel like I have to go pee like every 5 seconds before a fight. And it's like, I used to think that it was a subconscious insecurity that I had. I'm like, am I scared because I didn't train as hard as I thought I could or all of these things? No, I think there was no fear of me. Like, I didn't fear the guy. I didn't fear the moment or the possibility of getting hurt or anything like that. I know this now. I feared not being to my potential.
Yeah.
Like, because we know as fighters, like this shit, nothing is more brutal than like training, you know, 3 months for a fight. And then you go in there and it's just like, okay, you know, he cracked me within the first fucking 15 seconds.
Yeah.
And like, before I could even start getting going, I'm already compromised, right?
Yeah.
And like, you just want to have a solid performance. Like, truly, I say this, win, lose, or draw, you want to have a good showing.
Mm-hmm.
That's really what we want as fighters.
Yeah, and that's 100% it. And I think that's with my first 2 fights was like, I know I didn't perform at my potential, and I put a lot of pressure on myself becoming pro and being the only pro at the gym I was at the time. And
You felt like you were holding the banner.
I felt like I was holding the banner, you know. And so, yeah, dealing with those nerves and learning that they don't go away, and learning that they're actually a tool. And if you Google it, and I tell my guys all the time, I'm like, whenever you're feeling the most nervous, just Google the benefits of nerves for athletes. And there's a whole list of shit that you can look up and look at, like why these are actually good, you know, and actually using them to your advantage. And every now and then when a fighter comes up to me and they're like a week out and they're like, I don't have any nerves, I'm like, find them. Fucking find them, because this is not good, you know, like we need to find them. That
raw adrenaline before, I will say this, there is few things I've ever done in my life that feel as visceral and as good as a fight. The amount of damage that you could, I've had fights where, I mean, you get hit with stuff like in fights and they don't like, the best way to describe it is in a fight, I didn't feel any of it. Yeah. You kick my body, you kick my arm, whatever. Like, I'm like, whatever. Like, that was an impact. Keep going. And that's the thing. Adrenaline is a potent motherfucker. Because, I mean, you could just, unless you put my lights out, which there's no adrenaline in the world that could prevent that. But unless you put my lights out, good luck. You know what I mean? But then the morning after, I had one fight where a fighter kicked me in my side. And I didn't think anything of it. You know what I mean? The next morning when I woke up, the welt and the bruise from his shin on my back, and I was like, oh my God, like when did he hit me? Like I don't even remember this kick. Yet my whole back is black.
Yeah.
Like holy shit. But meanwhile, I won the fight. We went out drinking afterwards. Like I was on cloud 9. It wasn't until that morning after I was like, Jesus Christ, I am broken.
Yeah. My last fight, I had 3 shin kicks on my right shin, and there was a knot for 6 months.
Oh
like,
Jesus!
Yeah, and it like was just. It was
but during
just,
the fight, did you feel it?
I didn't feel it. Not even a little bit.
If it breaks, it breaks.
I was like, oh, that's stupid. Why is he kicking my shin? You know, their condition is all hell. Like,
well, imagine what he feels.
Yeah, hopefully. Yeah. So that's part of my journey. I like the fight. I like the training. I like having the purpose. I like having the experience. And so my future is I say 4 or 5 more fights. I'd like to fight past 50 just to say I did it, just to say, look, this is at the professional level. It's possible. I know that I see people on Instagram all the time that are fighting past 50 nowadays. It seems to be more and more.
As long as I'm not saying this in like any derogatory way, as long as you're picking the opponents accordingly.
Yeah.
I don't want to see you fighting like some 22-year-old hungry up and coming motherfucker. Like that doesn't make any sense.
I'm not.
But if you can pick some guys that make some sense, like I was talking about it with. Forgive me. There was a fighter that I was talking with, and I forget who the guest was, but we were talking about like how there needs to be, like you were talking about how TBA has like that 55-year-old division. It's like there should be more of that throughout.
Yeah.
Like when Ian Zarvos and Oscar Awatsi at the last Ian card, they had a boxing match. You know what I mean? And it's not like Ian's going out there or Oscar's going out there and fighting like the 21-year-olds. They're like kind of like a gentleman's agreement.
100%.
Hey man, you want to get back in this shit? I want to crack something. I want to get back into it. I want to feel those nerves again. I think that's beautiful, truly.
I do too. And I think there's a growing number of people that I came up with that are of, my age, between 40 and 49, that are still wanting to be active, There's a couple people that I got plans to fight after Trevon, so in December. So they're going to keep that rolling, So I say 4 or 5 more fights, but, realistically, because of age and just because to make, stay in compromise with my wife, that I'm really taking it fight by fight. Just to be honest with you, like anything could happen, and I intend every ounce of my body. Like I'm each fight that I take, the intensity amplifies a little bit for the training, and I just never stop, even in between fights. Like I never take breaks. I never do anything like that. Like I think that's one of the things that is the thing that keeps me going, because I've grown up in being a personal trainer and seeing people leave the gym and come back, and also fighters that like don't fight or don't train between fight camps. I'm like, what are you doing? And so strength training and cardio is number one, for me to be able to keep going. And there's people that are like, I don't know how you do it. And I don't even work out. And I wake up sore. I'm like, I do too. The difference is I'm sore and strong and you're sore and weak, So I just keep going. But it's nice to see that the people that I came up with are generally still interested. And hopefully I still have some opponents as the time goes on. And I'm not trying to be in anybody's way for any belt or anything like that. If it was to happen, maybe it was the right opponent, but I'm not, I'm being realistic. Just saying, like, I'm just here for the experience and here to fight.
Well, you're also a big motherfucker, dude. You're what, 6 foot
6'5", 6'4",
Jesus.
6'5".
About what? What do you walk around at?
I weigh
200?
about 220 right now.
Yeah, dude. You're not. You're not I'm not trying to. When you walk around, I'm like, fuck that. If you told me, like, hey, you want to do an old man fight? I'm like, fuck that. I'm good. Go fight somebody else.
Yeah, that was the thing about the fight I have coming up is the opponent I was supposed to fight, we were going to do a heavyweight fight, 215. And so he got that got canceled. And I was offered Trevon. And I was like, I'm having way too much fun not cutting weight. So if we can make it work at heavyweight, great. Like, that's fine.
Can Trevon fight at heavyweight?
Yeah, he's got to be 201. And
yes, he's a little shorter than you, though,
he's
right?
a little shorter than me, yeah. And I'm looking forward to
not
it.
That, I mean, not that he obviously heavyweight making a weight that's higher than yours is definitely possible than cutting weight. Usually, you're going to run into more issues if someone can't make weight. It's just kind of fascinating to me that I fought Trevon. Trevon Crawford was my first MMA fight, my amateur debut, and that was at 145.
Yeah.
So, like, to think of him fighting at heavyweight now, I'm like, Jesus.
He's fought everywhere, I think.
He has.
And, but, back back then, I think I was probably training with him. We, we trained together at the Danger Room for a long time. I know that, he's a solid dude and a solid friend of mine. He's a great fighter, and I'm honored to just share the space with him for real. And the first outing didn't go my way, and he called me afterwards. He goes, I don't know who the fuck that was in there, but that was the Madman. And I was like, I don't know what to tell
Really?
you,
He said
bro.
that to you?
Yeah. And so much respect for the dude. And I'm just, last time we tried doing, hyping it up on Facebook. I'm better at talking shit in person to mostly to the people that I love, like, hey, suck my, whatever. But on Facebook, I just feel like I sound like a dork. I couldn't get into it. I'm like, I'm trying, man. I'm trying really hard.
That's the most manly thing I've ever heard someone say. Like, I'm not a good keyboard warrior. I'll talk shit to your face.
Yeah.
It's not a bad problem, man.
Well, that's the way I am on Facebook. I hate Facebook arguments. Like, I won't do it. You know what I'm saying?
It's a race to the bottom.
Before I post anything, I'm like, okay, will I say this in real life? And if the answer is no, then I won't fucking post it because
I just refuse at this point in my life. Like, I just refuse. Like, what am I gonna do? I'm gonna waste time. Like, no. If I really wanted to talk shit, I'll call you.
Yeah.
If I don't have your number, you're not important enough. Like, it's not worth it.
Yeah. So my head's in the training right now, 100%. And it's
so December is that for Ian?
Yeah,
Ian's
it
okay
is for
show
Fight Sports,
because I know that NFA has a card and I believe Shamrock has a fight too. Like, December's gonna be a busy
they have
month.
one. Yeah. We're boxing this time.
Oh, just boxing.
Just boxing this time. So
What, out of curiosity, what was like the determining factor?
I was offered a boxing match.
Does it even matter to you? Like, if it's boxing, kickboxing, do you have a preference?
Well, I didn't. I did have a preference. Okay. I was for a long time like I'm solely a kickboxer, but then they offered me boxing, and I was like, it's interesting. And my favorite fighter is Nicky Holskin. Total idolize him, and he boxes. He just recently had a boxing match a couple months ago, and so I was like, let's do it. This is my opportunity to be more like him, and so I took it, and I feel like the process is going to make me a better coach. It's going to make me a better fighter for what time I have left, and I'm really, really actually enjoying it, So.
You recently, when I say recently, how long have you had your gym now?
Since March
okay, so
17th.
I would consider that still recently, right?
Yeah, it's real recent.
Okay, so not necessarily a year, but you guys now, you created your own gym, and it's on Hampton Road,
It's on
correct?
Hampton, right next door to Salt and Smoke.
Oh, that's terrible for making weight.
You open the doors and nice weather, like all that
it just
brisket
smells
comes
like
in.
pork,
It's
and you're like, oh,
fantastic.
great.
Yeah.
Glad I got 10 more pounds to lose.
Yeah.
Can we talk a little bit about, I know a lot of guys that when they're done fighting, they will kind of go under somebody else's banner. Like Jake Roberts came up in St. Charles MMA, now he coaches at St. Charles MMA. And some of the guys at ESMMA came up with Eric, and now they coach at Eric's. Mm-hmm. What was it that made you want to go out and create your own entity, create your own business, your own gym?
So I was on with Eric Clarkson. I was with River City Warriors for a really long time. They were down in Seward when I started with them. Back in 2015, I became a full-time person. I left the upholstery business that was my dad's business. I became a full-time personal trainer, and I answered an ad on Facebook from Eric Clarkson that he was looking for hire personal trainers because back then his building had MMA in the front and personal training in the back. So I answered that, went down there, I saw the place. I was like, man, this is really fucking awesome. I love it. And he was like, we do Muay Thai and Jiu-Jitsu here, and if you're a trainer here for me, then you don't have to pay, and this and that, yada, yada.
Nice.
This is awesome. And back then when I met Eric Clarkson face-to-face in that gym, I was leaving, I think it was that next weekend to get my black belt, because I was still with the karate guy from the other studio, and I went and tested in front of a panel of black belts and got my black belt in Bushido Karate. And so that was April of 2015, and I started training for him and just stayed. I just stayed, and I liked what we were doing. I liked where it was going, and I've always been an advocate of loyalty. Like, I've always thought that, once you find someone that you at least mesh with a little bit, and someone that kind of pushes you and does things like that, like, stick around. You know what I'm saying? There's see a lot of guys like moving gyms a lot, and that's fine. If you don't fit there, that's great. But I'm always telling my guys, I'm like stick around. Like, stick around and let's see what we can do. Not, just fly out at the first drop of a hat, you know, anything that kind of goes wrong or anything you lose or something like that. Like, just like, let's do the journey together.
Can I ask you a question though? If an individual has the inclination as soon as they lose a fight, or perhaps they go cross training and they get the itch to leave, do you want someone like that at your gym?
So it's their prerogative. You know, like we built a pretty good net of core guys, you know, but we had guys back when I was still with them, we had guys leaving girlfriends, and they were like,
yeah, okay.
And, well,
all the other
and
variables.
they would come in and say, there's not the right type of sparring people here for me. There's not the right size. There's not the right this. And I'm like, guys, I can't build a team with no team.
Yeah.
You're leaving for these little things. Like, we can go other places and spar.
You can always cross-train
go
for the
somewhere
sparring.
else. Yeah, you can. I don't mind that. But you're just leaving for that, and half of them, you know, just left and didn't even train. You know what I'm saying?
Well, that's why they call it Sunday Fun Day, right? Or whatever it is that they name the open sparring. Now, I remember when I first went to St. Charles MMA, this was years ago. Yeah. So I had just left CMAA. Actually, I got kicked out, if I'm going to be completely honest with you. I had a really big falling out with the jiu-jitsu coach. So I went to St. Charles MMA, and it was like the first time that I was like blown away, because like I went to SCMMA at the time and they had like all this mat space, and maybe, I'm not lying to you, there was like 60 fighters on the mats. Yeah. However, when I went in there, like all the coaches from the other gyms were there as well. So like there was 60 guys on the mats, but then there was like, you know, someone from Burgers, and like some of the Burgers guys were there back when Steve had his gym, and MCS was there, and like basically like it was kind of like all the people from St. Louis MMA were converging at St. Charles MMA for that day, and it made it look like St. Charles MMA was like, you know, stacked up, but it was actually like the cumulative St. Louis community. That's awesome. And I thought to myself, like, that's pretty fucking cool. Like that should happen more. I don't know if it does to that same extent, but I remember like my first 2 weeks at St. Charles MMA back when I was like 20 years old. This was a decade plus ago. I was like, holy shit. Like I've never been in an area with this many cold motherfuckers before in my life. Everybody was dangerous.
Yeah, that sounds amazing, you know.
But like what I'm trying to say is like we would have that sparring, and then they would go back to their gyms. And then next week, sparring, and then they would go back to their gyms. So it was kind of cool like that.
Yeah. That sounds amazing. And I like that. I'm not a, hey, you only train here when you're here guy. You know what I'm saying? And so when I say loyalty, I don't mean like you only train here all the time. Like, yeah, I send my guys to other gyms to train and spar and things like that, much more now than was available to me back then. But I built more relationships in the past couple of years than I had back then as well.
I think that's the bigger value.
Yeah, 100%.
Like, because I hate to say it this way, but like you go to any gym, you're gonna learn the same jab. You're gonna learn the same cross. There's some nuances, some differences between the coaches, of course, and like styles of games and stuff like that. But I think, when I was talking with Jamie, I was like, it's got to be culture. Yeah. You're gonna have the people around you that mesh with you, that you guys just jive with, and that's gonna be the value add.
Yeah, that's.
And if they don't,
then it's okay to.
That's what I was kind of going back to like earlier. Like if they're inclining to like leave, like I hate to say it this way, but like, is it the worst thing?
It's not always.
You know what I mean?
100%. And I have, you know, like I said, my gym is just like the old school River City was. I have the kickboxing in the front, and I have personal training in the back, and I have clients that, you know, I like to train people that on the personal training side for as long as possible, because I really like to get to know a person. Like if they're wanting to lose weight or whatever it is, you know, and I'm training them for that, and I get to know, like, you know, anybody can fake it for 3 to 6 months, you know what I'm saying? But like, let's go see how you are a year from now, you know what I'm saying? Really get into your habits and things like that. And but I have people that are, you know, come and they'll be with me for 2 years, and they'll come back and go, okay, I think I'm gonna move on, and you know, I'm like, okay, like, bye-bye. Cool, bye, you know, because I used to hold on to people because I was afraid of losing money. But at the end of the day, like, not everybody we don't mesh. I don't mesh with everybody. I would do my best for everybody, but personalities sometimes don't mix, even if the training is
That's also right, so difficult to do. Like, there's a maturity in that, because then you have to. Everybody wants money and everybody wants like a successful business, but it's hard to then look at that individual case and be like, okay, the immediate monetary gain is not worth all of these extra variables that I'm gonna have to take on afterwards, and that's tough. Yeah, like any startup, dude, every dollar that comes through the door, give me. You know what I mean? So it's
So I treat my fighters the same way though, you know, and you know, I create that atmosphere, and the guys that stay, you know, I want people to stay, so I want people to stay for me, and that's, you know, because, I'm doing the right things because I'm doing the things necessary because, that's what's making the gym work. And that's what's creating the loyalty. I'm not forcing people to stand up, locking the door when they come in and say, like, you're here now. But
you're also having the outcomes. We were talking about this
Yeah.
off the record, but the last show that we were at for Ian Zarvos and Mike Rogers is Mike came up to me and we were just kind of like bullshitting a little bit, and he was like, "Man, Tinker's boys look good." I was like, "Yeah, man, your boys were coming out there and showing out."
Yeah.
And I'm not trying to nut hug Mike, but I do very much respect his opinion because he's one of the OGs. It's like we often talk about like the Mount Rushmore of martial arts here. For sure, he's on it.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Absolutely.
So it's like whenever he kind of acknowledges that, and he didn't say it like, this is the best part. He didn't say it like in front of people.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? He was just like, "Man, Tinker's boys look good." Like it was something that he was thinking and he said out loud. And I was just in proximity. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
I was like, all right, there you go, Matt.
Yeah. He pulled me aside at the show. He called me alone and gave me the same compliment. "Man, you're a good coach. You guys look good." I was just taken back. Because I respect the guy a whole lot. I just told him, I was like, "Man, that means a lot to me because I respect the hell out of you, dude. And, I've always looked up to you." Because I knew it on some level from the first time I even met Mike. Was at my first fight weigh-ins. He came up to me and Mark and said hi, introduced himself, but I always knew on some level that when I was done fighting, if I continued to fight, that I would coach. And I always wanted to be that, kind of wanted to be that person. So, I had to have coaches to look up to, and he was one of them, that I kind of watched and kept my eye on over the years a little bit, and just kind of admired him. But yeah, it's been quite a ride since opening, and I came from I have to go back a little bit, but I stayed with Eric Clarkson for a very long time. He was amazing, he always knew what to say to fix my head when I was getting ready to compete, because like I said, I got real nervous. My son, when he competes, he gets nervous too. He gets real bad, me and him talk about it a lot, and
Why am I being such a little bitch?
Right, that's what. Well,
why can't I keep this down? I used to say the same things. Like,
for him and me, it was we would get the nerves and then get to worry about the worry. Like, damn, I have the nerves. Like,
fuck,
why? It's cool. So
but then he steps on the mat, or the second you step in the cage, it's like, all right.
Yeah, and it was
back to the
as
office.
soon as my music starts playing, I'm good to go.
Isn't that funny how that works, man? Magical. Forgive me.
No, you're good. I was just trying to pick up where we were at, and so I was there for 10 years with them, and
damn, that's a good chunk.
Yeah,
you made it sound like almost like it was like a year or two. I didn't know 10.
I was with Eric Clarkson and River City Warriors for 10 years. We were River City Warriors. We moved from there over to right next door to where I was doing personal training at, and we became a 10th Planet for a while after COVID and stuff like that. And then shit went crazy. I know it's really hard to keep a gym open, and they started doing different stuff, and it was cool. But I felt like the focus was waning from the fighters. I was always a fighter guy. Like we want the soccer moms. Yes, we want to train the people that aren't going to fight. Yes, we want to have the cardio people and all of that in our gym. But I love to be in the fighter crowd, and I love having guys that are competing with me. And the focus was waning from them, and so I was trying to keep that all together. And a client of mine one day asked me. He said, "You ever thought about having your name on your own building?" And I was like, "Every fucking day of my life, dude. Every day of my life." And long story short, he's like, "I have some, money to invest." His name is Drew Dubas. He's an amazing partner. Does a whole lot just for the gym, anyways, and really wants to get into the fight game and the behind the scenes stuff like that. So
God bless.
I do that, and I got some money to invest, and I'd like to invest it in you and do a partnership. So I was like, let's go, and so so we made the split. I decided to, it was time for me to do things my way, and which is a collection of things that were taught to me over the past 15 years, and by my karate instructor, by Eric Clarkson, by Stan Bew, by Jason Salufo, and all the guys that I trained, Mark McLean, and all the guys that I've trained under over the years, and I wanted to take all of that and collectively make it my own, and so we headed out to do that. And Eric said the greatest thing, as I told him that I was leaving and to open my own studio, he was like, "This is the coach's dream for real. To have a student to have a student leave to carry on something else is
Well, I mean, he
kind of
did it. He
amazing.
was taught by someone, and then he went on and do their
100%.
thing.
Yeah, and so
And by the way, there might be people that you're training today, 10 years from now,
Yeah.
will do the same thing
same
with you.
thing, yeah, and along the way, I started working with a couple years ago, Jared Daniels, and it's been
Jared Daniels block.
Yeah, Jared Daniels block, and it's been amazing. He's been great. Just love having him in my corner and having him on the team, and it's just been kind of a great thing. So I was passing all that on, and it's just sometimes surreal. And I'm like, my youngest son, my toddler, comes in from time to time. Of course, he's likes to run around and do crazy shit when he's there, but he does the stuff when he's doing kids class from time to time. He could teep, he can jab cross, he can do stuff like that. And I got some good pictures of me and him training together, and it's just cool because I trained his brother when he was 10, and from when he was 10 on, and it's just really cool to have that. I hope that my daughter, she's 13, sometime will come in and pick it up a little bit, but she's...
Dude, I have a daughter,
Yeah.
and my wife always asks me, like, are you going to teach her how to wrestle and jiu-jitsu and all this other stuff? And I go, I hope she wants to.
Yeah, that's the thing.
I would love
want
to.
her to want to.
I think I probably will. This is going to sound bad, but hear me on this. I probably will force jiu-jitsu on her simply because, like, I like how you giggle, but hear me out on this one. Like, I hate saying it this way, but like boxing, kickboxing, and even MMA, aspects of MMA, I hate to say this, ladies. It's like, if you got a Matt Tinker motherfucker coming through, 6'5", 220 pounds, I don't care. If you're a $110, I don't care how hard you hit.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But if you're a $110 and you're like very dangerous
something.
on the ground,
Mm-hmm.
you can kind of, I'm not saying that you can overcome every adversity.
Yeah.
There's people on this planet that could fuck me up, right?
Mm-hmm.
But we diminish the number of people that can do that.
Yeah.
So I don't want to say like I would force jiu-jitsu on her in terms of like to compete or anything, but I would like for her to at least be at like blue belt level as an adult, if that makes sense.
To be able to
Just,
overpower
just
someone.
enough to have a decent guard. If some shit happens, work your underhooks.
We were talking about the non-consensual sex culture is that's what I'm worried about.
It scares the shit out of me.
Yeah, me too. And so that's my hope too, is that if she doesn't ever really want to, that I can she'll at least be willing for me to say, hey, wait, what? Just give me 2 years.
Can I say one thing about that though, Matt? It is something that I have been told is a thing, and I'm sure is a thing. But if I'm going to be honest with you, anecdotal evidence, I've never seen that. Like my entire life, from high school, middle school, high school, college, adulthood, I've never been around people that were predators like that. Men.
Yeah,
Does that make
right.
sense?
Yeah, yeah.
And now, obviously, like, the bias could be, like, the people that I was around,
Yeah.
they were of a different, cut from a different cloth or whatever.
Yeah.
It's not as if I don't believe it. I do think that there are predator men out there, 100%. However, I've had the privilege of not knowing any of them.
Yeah, same.
Which
Well,
it's fun. Yeah, I guess what I'm trying to say is, or at the very least, if they are, they hit it really well, and we never knew. So it's one of those things where I am petrified for my daughter, and not petrified for my daughter. I am just, I want to be careful how I say this. I just want to make sure she is as prepared for the world as possible.
That's it, yeah.
But I'm starting to like pull back a little bit. I don't think it's as dangerous as we're led to believe. The majority of the interactions I've ever had in my life, the majority, like 99.9% of them have been pleasant. Granted, I'm a tattooed fighter guy, so maybe that's something to do with it. You know what I mean?
Try getting someone to look at me twice on the street is
you
it
think?
was really hard, But I think it's the same thing as, I'd rather be a warrior in a garden than a gardener in a war.
I love that quote.
Type of thing. So I do too. And it's just to prepare for what could happen.
Yes.
And I think there's a number of people that think like that too. Like we do see a lot of good in the world, and I don't want to get political or talk about it a whole lot, but we do see the worst of things compressed into a 5-minute Facebook scroll, and we see the worst of everything in that, because that's what it's. Why do you think there's traffic jams when fucking there's a car wreck on the fucking highway? Because everybody wants,
we all want to see the car
that
crash.
shit.
Yeah.
But 90% of the time when you're on the highway, there isn't one.
No.
And the traffic is flowing great. So it's the same thing though. Like we don't take our bumpers off our cars because we might not get into an accident. So we should teach our kids jiu-jitsu just because they might run into somebody like that.
And I'm not saying that, like, by the way, I'm not saying that, like, boxing, like, I hope she wants to learn some hands as well.
absolutely.
Like, but I'm just saying, like, if I had to choose a martial art for a young woman, I think it's jiu-jitsu number one.
Yeah.
And then probably, honestly, boxing number two.
I think too. Yeah, I wrestling and Muay Thai. You know, I'm always gonna say that. Just because of you know, I did jiu-jitsu over the years, but just after watching my son wrestle, it's like, fuck, that's the sport, dude.
Yeah.
It's a sport. But
You know what? You have a fucking
things.
point, dude.
Yeah.
You have a point. Wrestler girls, especially now that wrestling for
God,
girls
yeah.
is growing, dude. You're seeing these girls. There's gonna be an entire generation of like women that come up now that are gonna be hard, like nails, dude.
Yeah.
Because they're coming up from like wrestling now to the point where in America, I don't know if you know this, but like I think it was like in 2020 or 2018, like they started separating girls wrestling from boys wrestling in the state of Missouri. Now they've been doing it in other states as well.
Yeah.
But holy shit, you just see a difference in women now, like young women.
Yeah.
And I'm telling you,
Yeah.
it's correlated to that.
I mean, just the way that like I can see like people, the way they carry themselves just after learning 2 years of something. You know what I'm saying? That means a lot to predators, I would believe. You know what I'm saying? Than someone that's gonna have their head down all the time.
Well, no one wants to. Well, if you're a predator, if you're someone who wants to prey on someone,
back,
you want the easiest target. You
you're
want the
going
sickly
for.
calf.
Yeah, even
and the
lions
girl.
pick the pick the injured.
The old and the young and the injured.
Yeah,
Yep.
Yep. So, so definitely just if it's not even to defend herself, just so people see her different in public. You know what I'm saying? Just
The
through her
confidence.
presence, just the confidence is what I want. Not that she won't have it or anything like that, but that's just my hope.
I'm with you.
Yeah,
I agree 100%.
Yeah.
If you don't mind me asking, because you do have a son who competed at a very high level in wrestlings. I want to take a step back. When he was coming up, like obviously he was your firstborn, right?
Yeah.
Was there any part of you that like was hoping he would get into fighting? Were you trying to kind of steer him in that direction?
So yeah. So when I came, he was 7 when I got sober. And that was about this time.
God bless, by the way. I didn't say this, but God bless.
Thank you, man. I appreciate that. But it's a huge part of who I am, and it's a huge part of why I am where I am today. You know, just the fact that I put in some work, you know, to not do what I was doing. What I was doing wasn't cool, you know. And I met a lot of those people you say you've never met. I've met people.
Because of that world.
Because of that world, you know, and so.
We'll talk about that if you want.
Oh, I don't mind.
Do you mind if we talk about your son first? Forgive me.
Yeah, 100%. But anyways, he was 7 when I got sober, and I had started training. I said training at home at first, and I got into with the karate guy that I was with. David Beardsley is his name. I can't believe I didn't mention that earlier. And he started training with us. Trevor was training at a kids class somewhere, and it just wasn't. He was bored with it, so I started bringing him in on the weekends to train with us, and then. He just kept, kind of kept going. And when I got tested for my black belt with the Bushido school, Trevor tested for his brown belt the same day. And it was really cool. And he got to come see me fight, my first fight. And, actually every fight after. I got knocked out my second fight, and Trevor was the one leading me around in Maristar because I was still, out of it.
Yeah.
And I kept going in different rooms looking for the locker room. Anyways.
God bless your son.
But yeah, he's like,
Dad, hold my hand.
Yeah, he's like, come with me. And I'm like, this isn't the room. He's like, there's your bag. I'm like, oh, God.
Shit, this is the room.
Yeah, this is the room. But anyways, and we built a great relationship through training. And when I went to River City, he went there too. And he put a lot of pressure on himself. Even at an early age, he wanted to be a UFC champion. And so he did the jiu-jitsu, he did the classes. I mean, and at a real early age, he was watching fights, listening, just soaking up everything. I mean, he's 13 years old at this point.
So it wasn't something that you kind of like pushed on him. It was just through osmosis. He kind of just gravitated towards it because he was around it.
Yeah, and we started doing it together, and at the time, and 13 years old, he's 6'1", and sparring against adults. When we got to the danger room, he was 10 years old still, and we didn't have kids class, so he trained with adults. And so Mark, every time he got a little taller, Mark McQueen would hit him a little harder, and that's how he got. He came up in the fire, and so being that he wanted to do MMA, he went to high school for wrestling. He took wrestling in high school just for that, but along the way, he had a couple kickboxing matches. He won. He was 14. He fought a 17-year-old, and we had to kind of like.
This was analog days.
Yeah, he's 15.
It's before Tapology.
He's 15. He's 15. It's cool. And he won, and it's been a great. And he competed at TBA as well, and he competed. He came home from school. high school. I'll go back to high school. He goes to high school. He went to the Smet here, and he wrestled there. He made it to state, and then after sophomore year, his mom moved to California, and he went to California with her to be closer to like King's MMA and places like that.
Dude, California is also a motherfucker of a state for wrestling.
Yeah, and well, it's huge, and there's like
the total population is insane.
So much different.
So much more competitive is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, he ended up placing 6th and stayed out there, and went to college. But this kid, he came in from high school, and 2 weeks to train for TBA. So wrestling all year long, 2 weeks of Muay Thai, and went at 17 and fought a 33-year-old at TBA and lost by decision narrowly. 2 weeks of training, and that was just like, this kid is just.
I think a 33-year-old felt, fuck this.
Yeah, he was like, what the fuck? One time we went to TBA. I probably shouldn't say this, but we went to TBA, and I registered him for TBA, and I registered him too late, and they emailed me back and said they closed that bracket. And so he's like, he's got to come up a weight class. That's all I can do. So I was like, okay, cool, no problem. He'll be 215 by the time we get there. So we're feeding him pizza and weight gainer and shit the whole 2 weeks we had left. And he got there, and he had to tape a fucking weight on the inside of his thigh
to make the
weight. Yeah,
weight.
he ended up winning that fight against somebody outweighed him by like 20 pounds with a head kick. It was so awesome. And
it's so wild when you're telling me these stories. I remember what this used to be like. Yeah. My very first fight for Jim Jenkins with Trayvon, it was like my opponent backed out, so I had to bump a weight class up to fight Trayvon. I think Trayvon's opponent backed out too. So Jim was like, do you mind going up to 145? And I was like, fuck it, I'm already here. But I weighed in at 135. And Trayvon, God bless him too, was like, sure, I'll fight this kid. You know what I mean? Yeah. It was the wild, wild west back then, dude. And by the way, there was like, I came from wrestling too. So like, if you were over by 0.1, like, let's say your weight class is 125. If you were 125.1, go fuck yourself. You're overweight. Then in fighting, I was fighting 135. I made 135. And then like, this was like my third fight. My opponent weighs in like 141. Yeah. And then Jim was like, yeah. I'm just like, whoa, hold up. Fucking, that's 6 pounds.
The same thing happened to me in my second kickboxing match. I fought Mike Ofer. And
oh my God.
God, that was horrible. Because
that's a tough fight, man.
I came off my first kickboxing match with a 38-second knockout. And so, of course, confidence is high. Ego's high. And so
I'm the man.
They came in and was like, I was supposed to be 185. Yeah, exactly. I'm the man. I'm going to do the same thing to this guy. I got a story about that. But they were supposed to be at 185, and then they called and said, "Can we be a different weight?" And we said yes, and then it ended up being, "Can we be 210, 205 or something?" And I said yes. And I walked around back then at 195, so I just weighed in, went to weigh-ins, weighed in at 195. Well, Mike weighed in, I think 215 or 210 or something like that, and they're like, either he has to calm down or you have to go up. And I was like, I'll see if I can go up. And one of the promoters came and was like, we can weigh in tomorrow. Just put on some extra clothes and put some stuff in your pocket. And I did that. I went in, I weighed in, and it was still too far under, so I chugged a Gatorade, and everybody was shoving phones in my pockets when I did that. And I weighed in again at 207, and I fought. And went out there and did the same thing to Mike that I did to my first opponent, only Mike didn't go down like my first opponent did. And I ended up catching a hook early, like later in the first round, man. And that was the fight that Trevor had to walk me around to the different rooms.
Yeah, well, dude, Mike is a cool
he's a
guy
beast,
too,
man. Yeah, and he's so cool. I love that guy so much. But it was an experience, man. I'll never forget.
Is that kind of weird to you? Do you ever stop to think about that? Because I have an affinity for all the people that I fought now, which is a weird thing to do. Because I remember when I was in fighting, I kind of had this animosity with everybody that I was fighting because I was like, fuck this guy. He's trying to separate me from my consciousness. If he breaks my bones, people will cheer. Like I didn't hate anybody, but I did have disdain for them. You know what I mean? Yeah. And now when I look back at every boxing match, kickboxing match, MMA fight, jiu-jitsu tournaments, whatever the fuck I did, wrestling matches back in high school, I now just have like an immense amount of reverence and respect and appreciation for everybody that I've ever competed against, which is weird.
It's all about the journey and the experience,
It wasn't at the time. I wish someone would have kind of told me that when I was going through it.
Maybe that's the perks of being an older fighter. I can see that right away. But it also, like sometimes I gotta find that chip on my shoulder though, and the chip on my shoulder has to be there from time to time. If I don't have it, I've found that I don't perform as well.
Yeah, you're not as cold.
There's got to be a bounce. There's got to be a chip, and there's got to be.
I did the same thing. I wanted to dislike them, like because I'm a very sympathetic guy. So like if I like someone, I don't want to hurt them.
Yeah.
So like I was like, no, fuck that guy. That guy's a bad guy. Like fuck you.
What's funny though is I'll treat my fighters like shit. I'll be like, oh, that wasn't too hard, was it? That wasn't too hard, was it? You know, but yeah, not really. I don't.
Let's take that one back.
But no, but yeah, like I go into like I have to like for this fight because I like Trevon, and that's the way I felt about the first time I fought with him. I'm just gonna bring that up real quick. But this one here, that's why I'm narrow focused here. Like I'm not gonna listen to the buzz. I'm gonna stay in my lane for the fight, you know. And I have to find that little piece of it's friendly competition, but it's not, you know, at the same time. So,
What do you mean? It's competition, but it's not.
friendly competition, but it's not. So what I kind of mean by that is like I know Trevon, and when we go in there, he's gonna try and take my head off, you know. And if I don't have that same mentality,
He will. Yeah.
I'm fucked, you know. So I have to have that. So that's what I mean by it's friendly competition, but it's not. No, because afterwards we're gonna hug and we're gonna go back to being boys.
You realize that that's gonna sound so wild, and this is something that I think is so funny about fighters. Is like the normal person will listen to that and go, "What the fuck are you talking about?"
Yeah, yeah,
Like, oh, we're gonna beat the shit out of each other and afterwards have a beer.
yep,
I think, but that being said, I think that's like healthy.
yeah.
Do you? Like
No,
sometimes I think
100%.
about this like an internal thing. Like whenever because I'm removed from fighting now, like there's some things that I tackle in my life like outside of fighting with the same mentality.
Yeah.
And it's provided me successes, right? Like I'm very happy with my life.
Yeah.
But then I think to myself like am I fucked up? Like the way I look at things, like is it a good reason I'm like this
Well,
or like what did I learn from fighting? You know what I mean?
It goes back to what we talked about in the beginning. Is we didn't get into fighting because we were normal. You know?
Yeah.
So, but it gives us.
Do you
a
think
normal
that? Do you think
platform.
normal people don't get into fighting? Do you think that we're all kind of fucked up? Because I do.
I
think everybody that gets into the cage is a little fucked up.
I don't want to scare off
Or the ring,
the
not just-
normies, you know. From
No.
But at the same time, like, yeah, most of the people I know that fight, my students included, myself, have some kind of like. I used to tell my ex-wife this all the time. She's like, why do you gotta fight? Because I gotta prove to that little scared kid inside of me that I can do it.
Yeah.
That I can fucking protect myself, that I can protect my family, and this is the healthiest way that I can think of to do that. You know, it's either this or fighting in the streets.
Matt, I'll go a step further. I like fighting.
I do too.
I like
100%.
getting hit.
Yeah.
I like hitting.
Mm-hmm.
I like that push and pull. I cannot like if you gave me 1,000 years to describe why this is like an affinity towards me. I don't have it.
Yeah.
And by the way, if you would have told like 12-year-old Ariana, I would have been like, no way, I would never be a fighter. You know what I mean?
Right.
And then lo and behold, the way my life propelled itself, and I'm sure if I sat down with 100 fighters, they would all say the same thing. Like, yeah, you're kind of right. Like this is because the majority of these fighters have also been like some of the coolest guys. If you sit down with fighters, people that have trained martial arts, they are some of the coolest cats that you'll ever meet. Super confident and super chill for the most part. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Some of the best people you'll ever meet. However, like we said earlier, I'm sure they would also acknowledge that there is a part of us. It's a little fucked up.
Yeah.
Now,
Oh,
is
yeah,
that
100%.
now is that bad? I don't think it's bad.
No, it's not bad.
I don't think
not
it's bad.
The only thing, you know, is they always say it's like what you do with it. You know,
I
it's
agree.
like anger is not bad. It's what you do with anger that's bad. You know, so you know, being a little crazy is not bad. It's what you do with that crazy that's bad. You
I
know?
also love that Jordan Peterson quote where he's like, to be peaceful, you have to have the propensity for violence.
Yeah.
Because if you cannot be violent, then peace is not an option that you're taking.
Yeah.
It's your status quo that you have to do.
Yeah.
You don't have the option to be violent. So you're not choosing peace. That's the only
That's the only thing
avenue
you
of
have.
that. Yeah. You have to be able to be violent
Yep.
to be peaceful. Because then you're choosing not to be violent
100%.
to be peaceful. And I was like, damn, when I heard that, I was like, that's why I think all the fighters are cool. Because when you walk into a room with 60 killers and everyone's cool as a cucumber, everybody there, if they wanted to, could be violent.
Yeah.
And everybody's choosing
Choose
peace.
not to. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because maybe there's some, you know,
Maybe someone in there is even colder.
that raw, that raw primal, you know, primal instinct that we have. You know, the kill or be killed. You know, it's all.
I hope
it's in all of us, but it's we have.
I don't think it's in all. I don't think it's in all of us. I don't think it's in all
Well,
of us.
it's in all of us.
Oh, forgive me. Okay, sorry.
It's in
My
all
bad.
of the fighters. You know,
I'm with you.
But it's not. Yeah, it's not in all humanity. But you know, if you have you know, if you have that, you know, we were talking about us being crazy, but really it's kind of smart that we're saying like we have this thing, and instead of letting it consume me and make me something that's bad, I'm going to use it to make me something that's good, you know, and that's why I've always felt that passing on the art, you know, to everybody. We, you know, talk about people being crazy and us being crazy and maybe not quite right for doing this stuff like that, but it's just like any self-help program out there that like anybody could pick up and be like, you know, I'm just the normalest person's probably sitting at home right now behind closed doors going like, man, I don't know what's wrong with me. Something's wrong with me. I don't feel quite right. And really all they need is that certain program, and martial arts is that program.
I don't know how you could be a functional man in today's society and not know how to defend yourself. Like, it's something that I never thought about because I've always been able to do it. But like, imagine you're 35 years old. You don't know jiu-jitsu. You don't know how to throw a punch. You don't know how to do any of this shit. Yeah. Like, dude, I would just walk this earth in constant fear. Like, I hope nothing happens.
Well, what's scary is what's scarier than that is the male ego, because most men think that they can fight.
Listen, I see red, bro.
I see red, dude,
bodies fall.
Yeah. And so, yeah. So I think that's, you know, it's one of those things is like, man, like I thought I could fight before I got into fighting, you know? And I remember thinking that because I was still 35, 32, 33.
Well, you had fights outside of like...
some, yeah. And I went to prison, and I mean, I didn't fight in prison, but it was close, you know? And, but I thought I could. Like, I knew. And then when I got out and I got this...
Actually, can we piggyback on that? You probably could. The problem with us as fighters is we always like to say that you're a fighter means like you have to compare yourself to somebody else. Yeah. So like maybe you can fight against another person who's not trained. You know what I mean?
That's true.
That's fair.
Yeah,
like,
that's fair.
That's not a lie. But if you fight a guy who's been training for 5 years, they're gonna fuck you up.
Well, 100%.
So it's like, can the average man fight the average man? Yes. Yeah. But what happens when average by definition is 50? Yeah. So you could probably beat 49% of humans or males. What about the other 49%? Right, yeah. Our goal is to minimize that as much as possible.
Yeah, I just don't like I don't like the image of who I thought I was then as I do now. You know, so like if I say like, yeah, back then I couldn't fight, I didn't realize it until I got in here, then, you know, like, yeah, I'm more happy to be able to fight. And, you know, saying that I couldn't fight is I couldn't control the emotion and I couldn't control the violence when I did. You know what I'm saying? And now that I have a better atmosphere about that, I feel 100% more confident about knowing how to fight.
Do you think the more you learned how to defend yourself, how do you view physical confrontation? Meaning, like, what do you think about fighting outside of the ring?
Self-defense only.
Self-defense only.
Yeah.
I agree.
Let me do my best to keep it.
Well, let me ask the question in a better way. Do you think that being violent will somehow get you the things that you want?
No.
I agree.
It's the same thing as robbing somebody. You know, it's not gonna satisfy that. Being violent outside of competition for violence sake is not gonna fill any hole that you might have inside of you. That's what I believe.
I also say that, like, whenever we're talking with anybody, especially here on the podcast, and we get in debates frequently, like about politics or about competition or insert whatever topic you want. I always say, like, what are they going to do? Fight me?
Right.
Like, oh, I don't agree with you. What are we going to do now? Like, unless you can articulate your argument and like get me to understand your perspective, you're not going to change me.
Yeah.
And what are you going to do? Like, beat my ass? And like, oh yeah, okay, now I think the way you think. Like, so then I always thought, like, okay, well then fighting is simultaneously the dumbest thing, but you were saying earlier, I'd rather be the warrior in the garden than the garden in the war.
But if it kicks off.
But I want to be able to just in case.
Yeah. So I was told by some police officers one time, they're like, just make sure you get hit first.
Yeah, because then it's self-defense.
Because then it's self-defense, and so I've been there where I'm like, please hit me, please swing.
Do you find yourself in those situations now?
Not a whole lot, but it does happen. There's times like, I don't have the greatest neighborhood, but there's times when I just carry myself very well, But,
most of the fighters that I know, whenever we have issues when we go out, it is always 100% the guy in the group that doesn't train.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
If you're out there with fighters, it is there's no bad vibes Everyone's like, hey, man, relax, have another drink, like, chill
Yep.
out, everybody calm down. It's always the guy that doesn't know what the fuck
Yeah.
they're doing that kind of raises, that
That's-
escalates the
That's
situation.
what makes it so easy to walk away now. Like,
Yeah.
okay, if he's getting irate, then he doesn't know
Bye.
how
I
to
don't
fight.
care.
So cool, dude. Go ahead. But you have, but
Outside of me or my
Don't
family, yeah.
don't touch me, don't touch my family, because
Yeah.
but it's good. By the time, if there is a confrontation, if words are exchanged, or if someone is doing something, and once I get that fight feeling, same feeling I get when I go out and fight or when I train to fight or whatever, once I get that, that's my cue to be alert. Then I'm okay. Who do I need to protect? What's going on? Can I just walk away? Can I walk away safely? Can I, and then that's where I'm at.
I just had an episode with Tavon yesterday. We were talking about prejudice, and we were talking about like whether or not we see like a man walking down the street. Like, let's say like you're with your kid or your wife, right? And you're on a street and you're walking down and there's a woman. I'm not alert. I'm not alert for like possible physical violence. And then let's say it's a man. Well, I am now because I know that men have the propensity for violence.
Yeah.
Well, let's say he's a bigger guy.
Oh,
Now
yeah,
I'm more
definitely.
alert. Let's
Yeah.
say it's like some guy with a bunch of tattoos. Now I'm even more alert.
Yeah.
And Tavon was trying to like kind of tell me like, that's prejudice. And I go, yeah, yes, that's like instinctual prejudice to where I'm seeing someone that has at least visually speaking, has the propensity to be violent. And I have to protect stuff like myself, my family, my possessions, whatever it is. Yeah, I'm going to look at that and be like, I don't want to say like I walk the streets and if like there's a guy around me, I'm like, hey, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I mean, I'm a little bit cognizant of my surroundings.
Yeah.
And if there's a lot of big motherfuckers around me and I'm the smallest one in the room, I'm getting out of that room.
Yeah.
Bye-bye.
Yeah, I mean, I can definitely see both sides, but at the same time, we have to like think, like in today's world with what we have, but whatever, everything that's going on and the potential for danger and from everybody, we really just have to start being mindful of every person that we come in contact with, and that doesn't mean
That
that
sucks
we have
to say, but it's
true though, and it doesn't mean that we have to retreat and and avoid all human contact. It doesn't mean that. It just means that like we have to internally be aware of our surroundings and of the person and of potential from everybody that comes, because I don't know if the lady walking down the street has a car that's following her to make sure that like she's the decoy for the people that she's with, and I don't know that the big guy with the tattoos doesn't have a gun or a knife, and I don't know that the old lady doesn't have. I mean, it's a crazy world right now, so it's maybe just a good cue to say we need to pay attention. We need to pay attention.
Here's
to
the thing about
everything and
prejudice
everybody.
too. I should have said this to Devon. I didn't think about it until just now. It also works both ways. Like I understand that if I come up to somebody, I'm like some tattooed guy. Like so, I'm walking a little slower. I'm being a little bit more friendly up front. Like, hey, what's going
do that
on?
too.
You know what I mean? Just because I want to I expect you to be looking at me the same way I looked at that, what I just described as like the guy walking down. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's now my job to kind of rest you at ease a little bit.
Yeah.
And some people might look at that and say like, oh, that's wrong, Aaron. I don't care if it's right or wrong. It is how it is. It's the reality of the situation. So I'd rather just be proactive than reactive.
I feel what you're feeling, and I do the same thing.
Yeah.
Especially if I'm walking,
I use a
anywhere,
higher pitched
in a
voice.
store, in a street,
Yeah,
on a street,
schnooks, whatever.
and there's an older lady or anybody that's coming by, I tend to smile
Ma'am,
and
after
say
you.
good morning and
Yeah.
open the door for people to show that like not only
I'm not a threat.
I'm not a threat, whatever like that, just because I look this way. And I think it's important. I don't, people shouldn't look at you that way. That doesn't matter, man. Like they're going to. Some people are and some people aren't. And it doesn't, the person that I open the door for may look at me that way, they may not. But if I open the door for them because I'm being courteous, because I want to be courteous to everybody anyways, then they're definitely not going to. Or at least they're going to start to change their mind. Or at least they're going to think, well, at least he opened the door. Whatever it is a positive influence on just the atmosphere, and I think that that's a good thing no matter what we look like.
Earlier in the conversation, you briefly glossed over some of your youth and some of the previous life you lived.
Mm-hmm.
Is that something you want to talk about?
I can talk about anything, yeah, 100%.
Do you mind if I just ask, like, you in high school, big in hockey, big into sports, and then you said after high school,
drinking too.
yeah. Well, I mean,
Yeah.
I think I hate to say it this way, but like most high schoolers, I remember when I was in high school. Anyway,
Yeah.
What was the catalyst that made you go down a path that you probably should not have gone down?
Ooh, that's a good one.
And how old were you, if you don't mind me asking?
I started drinking when I was
16,
15,
17? Okay.
15, yeah.
Was it with the hockey players?
No, actually it wasn't, because I had a separate group of friends for a while in high school, because I went to Lutheran South and they didn't have a hockey team.
Oh, wow, really?
Yeah, I went to Lutheran South for 2 years, and I played club hockey, and I picked up drinking there with a group of friends, and just quickly like drinking every night, every weekend.
Yeah.
That was the thing to do.
Friday, Saturday.
And I loved it, and I really, looking back, and when I tell my story now, because, I'm in a 12-step program still, and every now and then, we go somewhere and tell my story to a group or whatever, and it's just kind of a common thing. And I never really quite felt like I fit in anywhere, and alcohol gave me that, like, ego boost I needed to be confident.
I'm the man.
Do the thing. Yeah, and I think it's kind of like, what fighting does for me now a little bit, but it's a little healthier. And but by the time I was in junior year, I went to St. Mary's to play hockey, and I was drinking every night by that time. So I always
even weekdays.
Yeah, weekdays too.
Even in high school.
Even in high school.
Holy shit.
Yeah, and so by the time
Did your
I was
parents
16,
know?
17,
Or did you hide it?
I hid it pretty well.
Okay.
And my parents, God bless them, they with drinking it's always something our family did. My dad owned an upholstery shop, and at 4 o'clock, they could buy natural light out of the soda machine, and things like that. And so they started drinking relatively, early in the day, and so it was just kind of part of the thing. But I usually didn't drink at home, so I was always away from mom and dad pretty much when I drank a lot. So whether they knew or not, I don't know. I think they, there's a possibility they could know, but they didn't want to know.
Or maybe they thought, like, he's having a couple
having
beers, he's with the boys. They didn't maybe didn't know the
yeah.
circumstances.
But really what I was doing was building
Going
a career.
hard.
I was going hard, So, and so I ended up at alcohol, even just after high school, became it ruined some stuff for me that early on. It ruined a relationship, it ruined some friendships and stuff like that. So I turned to, then someone introduced me to crystal meth. And I used that for quite a while too.
Was there, forgive me, because a lot of times when people talk about these things, they kind of gloss over, but I want to get to like the finer details. So you say like a friend came up to you with the opportunity to do crystal meth.
Yeah.
But what was going through your head? Were you thinking like alcohol's my thing, like not really this, or were you kind of open to it? Did alcohol serve as the gateway drug to other things?
It did. And so I think really because there was, in high school, I should have said this and I thought about saying it, I forgot, but in high school, there was, some cocaine, and I did acid, shrooms, and weed and stuff like that too, but alcohol was the thing. And I didn't do any of the quote-unquote hard drugs in high school because I played hockey.
Yeah.
But when I got out of hockey and I had some trouble with alcohol being, causing problems in my life, it's probably not this. It's probably the substance. So if I would trade from this substance to this substance for a little while, you know what I'm saying?
You thought like, well, what if I get off alcohol?
If I get off alcohol, but I didn't. I was always just too geeked out to drink. I always had open beer in front of me, but like it would be there for an hour because I was so fucking geeked, and that's kind of how I spent most of the time.
When you say geeked, because of the crystal?
Yeah, because of the crystal meth. Yeah, so I did that for a long time.
But when you did it the first time, can you elaborate to me? It's not that I'm trying to, put on a pedestal these drugs. What I'm trying to understand is like, because now you can speak at it with hindsight, right? Was it the feeling that enticed you? Was it like, oh my God, this is amazing, I want to do more of this, I want to feel more like this? Or was it like what you were saying earlier where it's like, well, alcohol's not really proving to be a good thing for me, and I don't necessarily want to be sober. Let's try this.
So it became more of a let's change who I am. You
didn't like who
I
you were?
I didn't like who I was sober. I didn't really know that I didn't like myself until after I started drinking and using drugs, and I didn't really know that I didn't like myself sober until after I got sober, and it was a combination of, yes, I like the euphoric feeling because
Drugs are fun.
Drugs are fun, right? And but I liked it too much, and I do know for a fact now that it did make me feel like someone else, you know, or it made me feel more confident. I could talk the kind of, you know, cliche stuff. I could talk to girls. I could,
It empowered
get
you.
in fights. Like, yeah, it gave me a power that I, you know, thought I didn't have, you know, and so that's what I kept doing. So I started chasing highs, you know, after a while. You know, I ran meth into the ground after a while. I, you know, just.
Forgive me. What does that mean? Ran it into the ground.
So,
like it didn't work.
it didn't work anymore. You
or
know,
you'd have
I
to do
was
so much to
doing
get the
so
same
much.
feeling.
I was
You were developing the tolerance.
yeah,
Sorry.
creating problems in the world. You know, like I've started, of course, you know, in order to keep the habit, you know, because it's expensive, I started dealing, and so like, you know, and I would, you know, get my package and take half of it out and then put half of something else in it. You know what I'm saying? To like
Dilute it.
You know, dilute it, but I would keep the raw, you know, and I would stay up for days on end, you know, and not eat.
Holy
and
shit.
Fucking like, you know, it was nuts, you know, and I had sores all over my face. And
What were
body and
the
stuff.
people around you like? I want to be careful how I say this because obviously, like, there are some people around you that are kind of like enabling this and helping you with it. But did you basically ostracize the people in your previous life?
I did. So I started becoming like, so the people that I was friends with, like in high school, we were pretty close for a number of years, started to kind of fall off. And I started to hang out with people that used and drank like I did, you know,
and would kind of be like, "Hey,
yeah.
Matt, we're doing this. Come on over."
Yeah. And meth was so easy to get. I talk a lot about heroin, but meth was what led me to heroin. You know, I did meth and drank for a long time. After I quit dealing eventually, and I picked it up again later, but it's a whole other story. But it always just kind of stayed with me, and someone introduced me to heroin one day, and
I hear that is.
was a lot better.
Yeah.
You know.
Well, I went to the hospital one time because I had a stomach ulcer from mercury poisoning from bad sushi. Anyway, they gave me morphine. And it was the first time in my life where I was like, I'm in this hospital bed, and I'm like, dude, I feel amazing.
Yeah.
The nurse comes in, and I go, hey, what did you guys give me? They're like, oh, we gave you morphine. I was like, can I like buy this? And the nurse is like laughing hysterically. I'm like 22 years old, you know what I mean? And she's like, you can't buy morphine. I go, well, like, can I get this anywhere? Like, can you prescribe it to me? They're like, no, like we only have morphine in the hospital. I go, what's the closest thing to morphine? And the nurse, without skipping a beat, goes, heroin.
Yep.
And I was like, no
can
fucking
I get
wonder.
some of that?
Yeah, no wonder. Like, all these people will use heroin. Because I'm not lying to you, man. For 30 seconds, I was sitting on that. I was like, I never did. However, for a small amount of time, I was like, I get it.
Yeah.
I get it. Because
Yeah.
I didn't also realize like how much my body aches and hurts until you eliminate that pain. Like what morphine gave me was like my 12-year-old body back.
Yeah.
Like, oh my God, my back doesn't hurt. My shoulder's not fucked and my
best
shin's
pain
fine.
reliever in the
It's
world.
great. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And the sleep was amazing. You know, I'm fucking drooling, you know?
Yeah.
Anyway, it was one of those instances where it opened my eyes because I also did the same things. Like when I was in high school and college, we drank, we did coke and mushrooms and stuff like that. But I always said they were party drugs.
Yeah.
Like implying that we would go to a party and at that party we would like inebriate ourselves. But then when we were not there, we didn't do that.
Yeah.
And that was always my mental block was like, hey, I don't have a problem. This is like something we do on the weekends to have some fun, but Monday through Friday, I'm not doing shit, and I go to church on Sunday. I'm good.
So that was probably the difference, though, is like, normal kids, right? 17 to 25 drink every night a lot of times, and that was what I grew up with. But I was the guy on Saturday mornings that was like looking for the leftovers, you know, and finishing them off, cigarette butts and all, you know, if there was any in there, you know, if there was anything left in the fridge, 7 o'clock the next morning, I'm still drinking, you know.
Jeez.
And that was me. And so
you just never stopped.
I just never stopped.
Just never
until I had to. I fell out, fell asleep, whatever like that, you know. And there would be times early on where I would wake up and have a hangover or something like that and not drink for like the day. And then I would start again at night.
Was there ever like any sort of physical, outside of like the hangover, like physical ailments that were presenting themselves?
Started to be shaky, started to be, you know, and I started drinking more and more in the mornings when I started doing meth because I would be up all night and then I would need something to come down with in the morning. So I would drink more and that's what I would do. And then I remember I would wake up just, you know, shaking, a little sick, you know, stuff like that, until I got some alcohol in me. And it was even worse with heroin because I would wake up sick from both of them, withdrawal from both. And
God, that sounds miserable, dude.
it was the worst thing in the world, for real. And I traveled down that, and I traveled down that path and kept trying to find people that use like I got to a point where I couldn't even find people that used like I did anymore, because
Meaning you went harder than them.
yeah, I ended up with this group of heroin addicts, and all they did was heroin. And so like I'm like getting drunk too, you know what I'm saying? And they're like, man, you're a piece of shit, you know, like you're an alcoholic piece of shit while we're banging heroin, you know what I'm saying? And I'm like, Jesus Christ, like
There's always a social hierarchy.
right? Like where's my fucking
The heroin
group?
addict goes, yeah, well, at least I don't fucking drink alcohol.
So don't drink and do heroin while they're smoking crack too, you know? Like I'm like Christ, you know, and like, you know, there's like they're holding me down, and like, you know, like I'm shaking. I can't keep alcohol down because I'm throwing up because I'm dope sick, and I can't get needle in my vein because I'm shaking from no alcohol, you know what I'm saying? And it's a pain in the ass to even get high anymore. And I was telling lies to my family, and they didn't trust me anymore. And Trevor was alive, and, you know, I wasn't a father, and being a father, thank God for his mom that, you know, had a decent head on her shoulders and you know, knew what to do and shit like that. And I just I knew I couldn't go on that way, but I couldn't quit on my own, you know.
So then, if you don't mind me asking, what was the catalyst then that broke that?
So long story short, I went to prison, and I did a number
Because of the drugs?
Yeah, well, I ended up, my grandpa I went to rehab, and my grandpa bought a house for me and Trevor's mom, and my drinking and drugging just kept getting bigger and bigger and bigger, and she ended up leaving me, and I turned it into a trap house. You know, the house got kicked in. I caught a charge.
This is my ignorance. I don't know what a trap house means.
So like a dope house, you know,
meaning like
we were selling drugs.
Got you out of that house.
You know, selling drugs out of it. People were coming over and flopping, you know, like using drugs there.
Got you.
Know, and
then over the course of time, it became apparent.
It became apparent this was happening, and
kick the doors in, they arrest you.
Kick the doors in, arrest me, charge me, you know, with possession, and I got out on probation, and then I kept using, and then I got caught again. I got house arrest. Then I cut the anklet off, and I absconded, and then I got arrested again. And this time they're like, you're going to prison, right? So they have prison treatments. Like, so the first time I went, I did, you know, like 3 months in the workhouse, and then a couple months in diagnostic, and then I went to Boonville.
Well, if you don't mind me asking, I've heard that like when you're addicted to drugs, having to get off of them can have detrimental effects as well. Like people can literally die.
They can
from getting off alcohol close.
Yeah.
So when you get arrested and you go to prison, obviously you don't have. I mean, maybe you're about to surprise me and you do have access to these drugs, but you were going from like using excessively to now you're in prison.
Yeah, it's possible to get things in, but I wasn't. I didn't. I smoked crack at the workhouse.
Gotcha.
You know, but the first time I went down, and but they put you up in the justice center with everybody else, and they will, if you do tell them, they will bring you some like clonidine and some Pepto-Bismol to kind of mitigate some of the effects. You know what I'm saying?
Of getting sober. Yeah.
Luckily, I mean, I was having some serious. I had hallucinations for a long time, but I didn't go into like super DTs or anything like that. Thank God. You know, so I did end up in the medical unit one time for a little bit.
Because of the withdrawals?
Because of withdrawals, yeah. They just put me in a medical unit and monitor me and stuff like that because I had such a big thing. But I had hallucinations for a long time. But I went to prison, went to do the 3 months of treatment that they had me do at prison treatment in Boonville. And I got out, and the same day I got out, I was right back doing shit again. And like I remember I was on the phone with my homeboys, you know, and they're like, hey, we were thinking about just, you know, maybe just getting sober and stuff like that before you come home. And I was like, you know, don't make any rash decisions before I get there, dude. Let's just, you know, like, we'll wait and see, you know, like, so because I knew I wasn't going to stop.
So it wasn't prison that, like, quote unquote, scared you straight. What was it then?
I woke up one day in between, so I was out for 6 months before I went back. And I woke up one day, and it all hit me like a ton of bricks, just out of nowhere. Like
your
all
conscience?
the lies, yeah. The fact that I wasn't a good father, you know, the fact that my family hated me. I had nothing. You know, I built my addiction on, and I think that's part of it, was a lot of the people that I was hanging out with were out there stealing shit but I was always scared of going to jail. I didn't want to go to jail dope sick. I hated going to jail dope sick. Hated it because I got arrested for a lot of things all the time. And I would always get out with a court date, and I hated being sick in jail, so I hated doing that. So they all lived at my house, so they would go out and steal shit and bring me back drugs. You know, that's how I lived. But I also, while they were gone doing that, I didn't want to wait around sick, so I would go steal shit from my family. I would tell them lies like, I'm going to do this program, I need money, I'm going to do this. Every day it was something else from them, and I woke up one day and I didn't have anything to tell them, and I was scared because I was like, fuck, this is it. This is it.
Rock
and then I
bottom.
started thinking about Trevor. I started thinking about my mom and my dad and like how they were, and I'm like, I don't
This is it.
This is it. And so so I just laid there all that day. I don't remember what day it was. I just remember that it happened. And I know it was somewhere in between prison stays. And because I was like, well, I could call my PO and I could say I'm fucked up and I need help, but I didn't want to do that. I could call my parents and I could say I'm
Why
fucked
didn't you want to do that?
There was a part of me that wanted to delay the inevitable still because I knew my people were coming back to take care of me, you know? So I told myself, so after I thought through all these things I could do, I told myself, I'm just going to wait because I hadn't been to see my PO the whole time I'd been out. And I was like, I'm just going to wait till they come get me again. Eventually, I'm going to get caught.
PO is parole officer.
Parole officer, probation officer at the time. But I said, eventually, I'm going to get caught and I'll stop then if I don't die. and that's what happened. So this time I got caught. A couple months later, they came to my house and picked me up, you know, and took me in. And this time I went to the workhouse for a couple months. I went to diagnostics for a couple months, and then I stayed at Bonne Terre. There's a funny story. Bonne Terre prison is a level 5 camp. They have a death camp there. So like on the permanent side,
wow.
they have, they have the gas. No, they have lethal injection there. And then they have that's where like all the hard crimes are done. And I'm sitting in diagnostics waiting to get shipped somewhere. And they come and get me, and they say, Matt Tinker, come up to RNO. So I went to RNO, that's receiving and orientation. And they're like, all right, here, we need you to sign these papers. You're going to the other side. And I'm like, what the fuck am I going to the other side for? Like, did my charge change? Because all I have is a possession, you know, and I'm not a level 5. And they're like, no, you're going to the work release house. You get cigarettes and coffee and shit. And I was like, fuck yeah, where do I sign? You know, like, yeah. And so I went over there for like 9 months. And then I thought I was just going to go home from there. Parole officer told me I was going to go get out in June and stuff like that. But I had 70 days left. They came and got me and took me out to St. Joe for another prison treatment, you know. But I was done, you know. At this time, I was like, I need to do something to stay sober. And so I got took to the treatment. I did all the stuff.
When you say the treatment, forgive me.
So it's like treatment rehab.
Okay,
you know,
rehab.
In
okay,
prison,
sorry.
though.
In prison.
You know,
okay.
yeah, it's rehab in prison. And I did that, and I got out. And 2 days later, I found myself at a 12-step meeting. You know, I didn't find myself. I looked them up and took them there because I was out for 2 days and I hadn't been to a meeting. I told my parents I was going to start going to meetings, and they were like, well, I was in. And they're like, that's great. You know, my mom said one time I was talking on the phone. She's like, your dad looks 10 years younger, just knowing that you're safe. You know,
I was going to ask you,
yeah.
what this did for your family when
It was better for them. When I got locked up, their lives improved. And consequently, when I got locked up, my life improved. My quality of life skyrocketed because I was eating, I had clean clothes, I had friends that had the same goals, you know, that wasn't, you know, stuff like that. So
to better your life, get out of this.
Yeah, better your life, get out of this type talks. And yeah, so my quality of life improved, their quality of life improved. And so like, I didn't want, also it was just kind of a motivator. Like I didn't want to go back and put everybody's life back in turmoil, you know, because it's not, you know, you always think, you know, like, I'm just doing this to myself, but man, I did it to my whole family. Everybody was on edge while I was locked up, you know, or while I was out on the street. So I got out, and my parents kind of were like, you haven't been to a meeting yet. You said you were going. And I was like, I'll go when I'm ready to. And I knew once I got an attitude, I was like, oh, that's my cue. So I got in a phone book and found a meeting and went the next day, and I never looked back, you know. So
God bless. And how long have you been sober?
17 years.
God bless.
Yeah, thank you, man.
When you look back at that, it's kind of a weird question to ask, but I'd be curious, like, are you happy that you went through what you went through to produce the man you are today, or do you look back on that with like regret?
No, I'm happy. I'm happy I am who I am today. I'm comfortable in my own skin. Someone asked that. They said the other day, another trainer's client said, if you had it to do over again, what age would you start? Knowing what you know now, what age would you start over again? And I'm like, I can't answer that. I'm like, because I have so much good in my, even though I've been married 3 times, I have 3 different kids. I have 3 kids from 3 different women. They're all respectable women in their own way. My current wife is amazing. She's got just the best support, you know. I have 3 beautiful kids, and I've often thought, you know, over the years, why me? Like, why do I get blessed with 3 women and 3 kids? You know what I'm saying? Like, granted, there's, you know, always, you know, tantrums and things like that, but you know, they're beautiful, they're healthy. When there's people that have kids dying, like, why me? After all the shit that I did, why do I have 3 beautiful kids? And why would I want to change any of that? I don't want to change any of the people that I've known. I don't want to. Everybody plays a part in my story to help me build myself to the next level of the man that I'm meant to be, you know. And I fall short of my own expectations all the time, but today I have a chance tomorrow to correct the failings that I've done today. You know, when I was using, I didn't have that, you know, because it was always the same thing. Get up, find dope, 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 you know. And I don't have to do that now. Now I can wake up and I can compound on the stuff that I did the day before, and I can try to be a better man for it and just keep moving on. And it's just so much of a better life than it always been. I've been through hell, and I'm not there now, and I'm just happy to be out of it.
God bless, man.
Thank you.
Matt, I'm glad that you came down here. I'm glad that we got to talk a little bit. There was a lot of things I didn't know about you. Some things I did know, and I'm glad we were able to dive a little deeper into those, but I didn't know about some of your past, you know what I mean? Before we put a pin on it, is there anything that you want to say, anything you want to plug or anything like that at the end of the conversation?
Yeah, I don't know, man. I just want to plug, you know, the students, you know, everybody at my gym, all my clients, you know, and all the members for the kickboxing side, man. Like, we got a lot of good guys that you know, if they stick with it, are going to be really talented, and we, you know, are really excited to see good things from them. My assistant coaches, Danny Wildridge, we call him Axe, Craig Verusa, my partner, Drew Dubas, my wife, Kristen, my kids, you know, Bo, Jordan, Trevor, you know, just our whole family of clients and people that we got, you know, with us they're just amazing. You know what I'm saying? And every now and then I look back and I go, I don't know why you guys are here, and they're always like, we're here for you, man. Like, if you weren't you, we wouldn't be here. And I'm like, I don't get it. You know, I feel like it's one of those things, like, you can't explain. You just have to understand. Like, all right, dude, I'll just keep doing me then, you know, and hope for the best, you know, because I'm always trying to learn and trying to do, you know, new things, and just, you know, we're here to stay. We're Madhouse, and we're not going anywhere.
This is going to sound very weird to say, but I want to say it. I'm glad you're here.
Thank you,
I'm
man.
glad it didn't take you. I'm glad that you were able to turn your life around, and I'm glad you're doing what you're doing now.
Thank you,
Truly.
man. I really appreciate that.
Brother, thank you for being on this podcast.
Absolutely, man. Thank you so much.